They were only made for 1 year, but some of these little gray pennies are now worth a small fortune. Most people think steel pennies are worthless, just pocket change, but let me tell you, there are a few out there that are so rare, so shocking in how they were made, and so valuable, they've sold for upwards of $500,000. And the craziest part? Some of them look just like the ones sitting in your coin jar right now. This isn't your typical coin video. We're not talking about mint state beauties locked away in million-dollar vaults. We're diving deep into the top 10 most valuable steel wheat pennies, coins that were supposed to be temporary wartime replacements but became accidental legends. Some of these have jaw-dropping mint errors. Others were struck in the wrong metal, and a few are so rare, collectors would pay more for one than most people spend on a house. And the best part? A few of these coins might already be hiding in your old change, damaged, rusty, even dirty, but worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And stick with us because every single coin on this list comes with a twist you won't see coming, and by the time we reach number 1, your jaw just might hit the floor. If you love coins, history, or the thrill of discovering treasure, hit that subscribe button now. This is one video you won't want to miss. Now let's dive in and start uncovering the steel pennies that could turn spare change into a life-changing fortune. First up, a ghost of the past that looks like it's been forgotten for decades, but could actually be worth more than a brand new luxury car. We're talking about the Ambridge 1943S Steel Wheat Penny, and this one, in faded, white, rusty, heavily circulated condition, it might just be the ultimate underdog story in U.S. coin history. At first glance, this coin doesn't look like much. The silvery zinc coating is mostly gone. The surface is soft, covered in oxidation and fine rust. It's dull, lifeless, something most people would throw in a junk drawer without a second thought. But let me tell you that this worn-out penny could be hiding a six-figure surprise. Here's the thing. In 1943, the U.S. Mint did something it had never done before. It stopped using copper and started making pennies out of weak steel coated in zinc, all because of wartime metal shortages. The San Francisco Mint alone produced over 191 million of these. So yes, the 1943S is common, if you're talking about the standard ones, but this isn't just any 1943S. Collectors are on the hunt for several key error varieties that could turn this faded coin into something truly astonishing. For example, there are known 1943S steel cents with the striking die breaks, off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets. And if this coin, despite its rusty look, may show signs of a repunched mint mark, RPM, on a double date, you're suddenly not looking at a penny. You're looking at a worth $5,000 to $25,000. But wait, it gets even crazier. There are extremely rare transitional errors, where 1943 coins were accidentally struck on bronze or copper planchets from the previous year. Now, those are almost never seen with an S mint mark, but a single confirmed 1943 bronze wheat penny has been discovered, and it sold at auction for a heart-stopping $504,002. That's over $500,000 for one penny. So how do you tell if your worn white steel cent could be the one? Start with the basics. Does it stick to a magnet? If it doesn't, it may not be steel at all. And that's when your heart should start racing. Next, check for a misaligned die, a mint mark doubling, or even a wrong planche weight. These errors can be subtle, but worth thousands. And even in beat-up condition, a 43 SRPM in AU, almost uncirculated, has sold for over $8,000. A certified mint state 67+ example, gleaming silver, no rust, recently brought in more than $25,000 at public auction. Now, the coin we're looking at right here isn't mint, far from it. But that weathered, corroded surface might just be hiding the key details of a major variety, the kind of variety collectors would fight for, because with steel cents, the value doesn't just come from shine, it comes from mistakes, mysteries, and survival. And this penny, it survived. Through time, weather, and war. And it may be rusted, it may be tired, but its story and its value is far from over. And what's coming next? It's one of the strangest mint errors ever found on a 1943 steel cent. and it nearly slipped through history unnoticed. You're not getting to believe what happened to it. But before we dive into that shocker, if you haven't already, make sure to tap that subscribe button so you don't miss a single coin in this incredible countdown. Next up, another 1943 Steel Wheat Penny. But this one carries a different kind of mystery. It's beaten, it's worn, it's rusted in patches and faded to a pale, ghostly gray. At first glance, it might seem like just another war-era coin too far gone to be worth anything. But trust me, this coin could be hiding one of the rarest and most expensive mint errors in U.S. history. This one comes from the Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark, just the date, mine 43. That alone makes most people think, oh, just another steel cent. And they're not wrong. Over 1 billion of these were struck that year. It was the highest mintage of any Lincoln cent ever produced at the time. But not all 1943s were created equal. You see, while most 1943 cents were struck on zinc-coated steel, a few slipped through the cracks. Literally. Mistakes were made. Old copper planches from 1942 somehow got stuck in the minting presses, and what came out were a handful of Yacha 1943 bronze cents, a coin that should not exist. Only about 20 genuine examples of the 1943 bronze Lincoln penny from Philadelphia are known to exist. They're rare, they're legendary, and they are worth a fortune. How much? One authenticated specimen sold for a jaw-dropping $232,000. Another in even better condition went for $104,000. And here's the real kicker. Even extremely worn examples like the coin we're looking at right now can still sell for over $60,000 to $125,000, depending on the market and the buyer. Now, how do you know if your 1943 penny is one of these freak rarities? First step, the magnet test. If it sticks to a magnet, it's steel, so most likely the regular version. But if it doesn't stick, you could be holding a bronze cent, and even in the condition we're seeing here, rusted, faded, and well-worn, that one little detail could be the difference between pocket change and a $500,000 treasure. Another clue? To what? A standard steel cent weighs about 2.7 grams. A bronze one, around 3.1 grams. That slight difference is all it takes to change your life. But even if this coin is steel, don't give up hope just yet. The 1943 Philly issue is also home to several lesser-known but highly sought-after die varieties, including a double die obversus and clipped planchettes. Mint errors that even in rough condition can still command prices from $1,000 to $10,000 plus. And let's not forget some steel cents were struck on foreign planches. There are verified examples of 1943 cents struck on silver-colored coins meant for Latin America or the Philippines. Those off-metal errors are shockingly rare and have sold for over $30,000 to $50,000, depending on condition and documentation. So yes, this coin may look like a lost cause, but to the trained eye, to the seasoned collector, it's a possible gold mine hiding under rust. Because the real story of the 1943 penny isn't just about what it looks like, it's about what went wrong at the mint and whether your humble coin happens to be one of those legendary mistakes. And next, we've got a steel penny with a twist so bizarre, it actually caused a stir at auction houses. You've never seen a wartime coin error quite like this one, but before we go there, hit that like button if this treasure hunt has your heart racing. And don't forget to subscribe, because these next coins are only getting rarer and more shocking. Next up, the final piece of the 1943 steel penny trifecta, and this one comes from Denver, the 1943 D Steel Wheat Penny, in a badly worn, rust-speckled, heavily circulated condition that most people wouldn't even look at twice. But what if I told you, and this might be the single most deceptive coin made in your collection? It looks harmless. The color has faded to a dull, powdery silver. Tiny pits and rust flakes have eaten into the surface, and that little wide D mint mark below the date? It's barely hanging on like a whisper from the past, but buried beneath the damage from Aptotes, there could be something so rare, so outrageous, that a single collector once paid north of $1.7 million just to own one. Yes, you heard that right. This isn't a fantasy, it's real. Because while the 1943 D steel cent is generally common, with over 217 million as produced, there's one bizarre twist that turned a worn old coin into yet one of the most expensive pennies in history. I'm talking about the 1943D bronze wheat penny. Just like its Philadelphia and San Francisco siblings, a few Denver coins from 1943 were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets from the prior year. Only one confirmed example is known to exist, and it sold for an earth-shattering $5 million in a private sale. One coin, and here's where it gets even crazier. That coin, when it was found, didn't look much different from the one we're looking at now. Faded, circulated, not shiny or flawless. In fact, its condition wasn't even close to mint state. But that tiny difference in hot metal composition, it changed everything. So again, how do you tell if your rusty little 1943D penny is that penny? Same as before. Start with a magnet. If it sticks, it's steel. If it doesn't, your hands might be shaking for good reason. Then check the weight. A steel cent will be around 2.7 grams, but bronze will tip the scale closer to 3.1 grams. And finally, look for anything unusual, weak strikes, strange coloration, or surface bubbles that might hint at a wrong metal planchette. Now, even if your 1943D isn't made of bronze, there are other valuable errors to keep an eye out for. One of the most popular, the repunched mint mark, known as the RPM variety, where the D was stamped twice, slightly off. These coins, especially in high grades, have sold for $3,000 to $10,000 plus. Even in beat-up, circulated condition, collectors will pay them hundreds to thousands just to get their hands on a verified RPM example. Other possibilities? Off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even die cracks, which add up to thousands more in collector value, especially when they show up on a wartime coin like this. The truth is, this coin is a trap. It looks like trash to the average person, but could be a ticking time bomb of value. A sleeper hit. The kind of thing that slips through the cracks at flea markets, coin shows, or even estate sales, and then reappears years later in a glass case labeled one of a kind. And now that we've seen all three 1943 mint locations, Philly, San Francisco, and Denver, don't go anywhere. Because coming up next, we've got a coin that never should have existed. It's a steel penny struck in Deal, and its very existence breaks every rule in the U.S. Mint's playbook. You're not going to want to miss this next one. And if this countdown's blowing your mind, go ahead and smash that subscribe button here, because the deeper we go, the more valuable, rare, and unbelievable these coins become. Next up, another 1943D Steel Wheat Penny. And before you scroll past thinking, didn't we just see this one? Let me stop you right there, because this isn't a repeat. This one, this worn, rusty, faded little coin, it's at the center of a story so strange, it took collectors decades to believe it was even real. At a glance, this penny looks like it's been through a war. The steel is oxidized, the zinc coating has nearly vanished. There are pitted marks, corrosion, discoloration, It's exactly the kind of coin you'd find at the bottom of an old cigar box or forgotten in the corner of a dusty drawer, but that's exactly how some of the most valuable coins in the world have been discovered. See, while the 1943D steel penny was mass-produced, over 217 million were made, the true treasures are the ones that came out wrong. And this particular Denver coin has several rare error possibilities that can shoot its value into the hundreds of thousands, even in circulated, worn-out condition. Let's talk about a couple of these. First, there's the infamous 1943D double die obverse. This variety is extremely hard to find, and it's even harder to spot on a coin that's been circulated like this one. But if you can catch a glimpse of doubling on the date, the motto, or Lincoln's profile, and it checks out under magnification, you're suddenly holding a coin that could bring in, 10,000 to 30,000 char, even in a low grade. And then there's the eclipsed planchet error, where a chunk of the coin's edge is literally missing due to a misfeed at the mint. These errors are rare, but a 1943D steel cent with a clean, dramatic clip has sold for over $12,000. Again, even when heavily worn, collectors line up to buy these because they're so visually dramatic. But here's where it really gets wild. There are rumors, and one confirmed instance, of a white 1943D steel cent struck over a different coin. That's right, a few error coins were struck on foreign planches or reused metal, and traces of the previous coin are still faintly visible underneath the Lincoln design. These are called overstrikes, and they're beyond rare. One such overstrike was found on a foreign coin planche, and it sold for $55,000. Just imagine finding something like that on a rusty old penny that everyone else ignored. And let's not forget about the RPMs, repunched mint marks. Denver was notorious for inconsistent hand punching of the D mint mark, and some coins show 2 or even 3 impressions slightly overlapping. Even in rough shape, these coins have sold for $1,500 to $5,000. And high-grade versions have gone for tens of thousands. Here's the bottom line. Coins like this, that look damaged, corroded, or worthless, are exactly the kind that has slipped through the cracks. And that's why they're so exciting, because if you're the one to spot the hidden detail, if you're the one who gets it checked, certified, and listed, that War coin can suddenly be worth more than a new Corvette. So take a second look, get out your magnet, weigh it, grab a magnifier, because the 1943 D steel penny isn't just another wartime oddity. It's a minefield of possible mint errors, and each one could lead to a massive payout. Coming up next, a coin that breaks the rules of minting entirely, a 1944 steel cent that never should have been made. Only a few exist, but when they show up, they turn the coin world upside down. And hey, if you're loving the ride so far, be sure to tap that subscribe button and stick around. These coins are only getting rarer, weirder, and way more valuable. Next up, another 1943 S Steel Wheat Penny. But this one is in rough shape. We're talking heavy pitting across the surface, corrosion along the rims, deep discoloration, and what looks like decades of wear. To most folks, this would look like nothing more than a junk drawer reject. But what if I told you that this very coin, in this exact gritty, beat-up condition, might still be worth tens of thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because looks can be deceiving, especially with coins from 1943. This one was minted in San Francisco, marked by the small S below the date. Now, the U.S. Mint struck over 191 million steel pennies in San Francisco that year. They were made from zinc-coated steel due to wartime copper shortages, a move meant to conserve precious metal for military use. So yes, they're common in theory, but true rarity has nothing to do with how many were made and everything to do with what went wrong. Let's start with the big one, the 1943 S bronze cent. Now, this is one of the holy grails of coin collecting. Like its Philadelphia and Denver counterparts, a few 1943 S pennies were mistakenly struck on bronze planches left over from 1942. Only 6 authentic specimens have ever been confirmed, just 6, and each one is a 6-figure prize. The last time one of these surfaced, it sold at auction for $4,000. And here's the shocking part. That coin wasn't in pristine condition. It had been circulated. It had marks. It looked worn, just like the one we're looking at now. The difference? Someone took the time to test it. So again, if you're holding a 1943 S that's heavily pitted, don't throw it away. Do the Yaj magnet test first. If it sticks, it's steel. But if it doesn't, your hands might start shaking. Because you could be holding a bronze planche error worth $500,000. Even if it is steel, don't count it out. There are rare die errors associated with the San Francisco 1943 cents. One of the most talked about is the repunched mint mark, where the S was stamped more than once, creating a visible doubling effect. Collectors go wild for these, and even circulated examples like this have sold for $3,000 to $7,500. There are also known strike-through errors, where a piece of debris or grease blocked the die during minting, leaving part of the coin weak or missing detail. Combine a strike-through with a repunched mint mark. That's a recipe for big value, especially in the error coin community. And don't forget about off-metal strikes. 1943 S cents that were accidentally struck on coins meant for other countries. These bizarre errors have shown up on coins made of silver, aluminum, and even foreign copper-nickel alloys. One verified 1943 S struck on a silver-colored foreign planche sold for over $40,000. So while this pitted old penny might look ready for the trash, it could actually be one of the most expensive mistakes the U.S. Mint ever made. This is what makes coin hunting so thrilling. It's not about shiny, perfect coins, it's about the weird ones. The broken ones. The ones nobody else gives a second thought, because sometimes that dusty old cent sitting in your kitchen drawer turns out to be a $500,000 lottery ticket in disguise. And next, you won't believe your ears. We're about to look at a steel penny dated 1944, which by all logic should not exist. But when it does, it sells for more than most houses. Hit that subscribe buttons if you're loving this countdown and get ready. And we're just getting to the rarest, most mind-blowing pieces of the puzzle. Next up, yet another 1943 D Steel Wheat Penny. But this one, it's in brutal condition, showing heavy rust, deep pits, corrosion that's eaten into the surface like acid. You almost want to put gloves on just to touch it. But what if I told you that this filthy, almost unrecognizable little coin, boys, could be hiding? One of the rarest minting mistakes in American history. Because when it comes to steel pennies, especially from Denver, looks can be dangerously misleading. This coin is from 1943, the year the U.S. Mint made a dramatic shift in materials. To save copper for ammunition and wartime equipment, they made pennies out of zinc-coated steel, and Denver alone cranked out over 117 million more of them. So yeah, these are everywhere, but as you've already seen in this countdown, it's not about quantity. It's about what went wrong at the mint. And believe it or not, this rust-covered penny might be one of those rare misfires. Let's get straight to the jaw dropper. The 1943 D bronze penny, this is no myth. One has been found, only one, and it was struck at the Denver Mint on an outdated bronze planche left over from the previous year. The result? A coin that looks completely ordinary, until it doesn't. That single beat-up circulated bronze 1943 D penny sold for an earth-shattering $1.75 million in a private sale. One coin. And guess what? When it was discovered, it didn't look much different from the one you're seeing right now. In fact, the bronze color was masked by years of grime. The collector only figured it out when he dropped it near a magnet, and it didn't stick. So here's your first move. Test that coin. If it doesn't cling to a magnet, it could be bronze. And if it's bronze, you're suddenly not holding a penny, you're holding a retirement plan. Still steel? No problem, because the 1943 D steel penny is still packed with error potential. There are known examples with the struck-through grease errors, where part of Lincoln's face or the lettering is faded or missing. Others have die cracks, sometimes stretching across the coin like lightning bolts. These dramatic visual flaws drive collectors wild, especially on 1943 Ds, and can bring in $5,000 to $25,000 even in worn condition. And here's something wild you may not have heard. Some 1943 D steel pennies have been found double-struck, meaning they were hit by the die more than once at slightly different angles. These coins look distorted, stretched, or even shadowed. And when certified, they sell for just $10,000 to $40,000, depending on severity. Then there's the legendary repunched mint mark, or RPM, where the D was hand-punched twice at the mint, slightly misaligned. Some of these RPM examples are extremely dramatic, and even in rough condition, they sell for the finest ones. They can exceed $50,000 at auction. Now just imagine that you've got a coin that looks worthless, covered in rust, practically flaking apart, but underneath all that damage, a minting error that only appears once in every million coins. That's what makes these coins dangerous, because they hide their value so well. So don't judge this 1943 D by its surface. It might look like trash, but with one small mistake, which it becomes a life-changing discovery. And coming up next, we're breaking all the rules. A steel penny dated, which shouldn't even exist. Fewer than 30 are known. And the price tag, it could buy you a house on the coast. Tap that subscribe button now, because what's coming next is a record-breaking mistake that turned a forgotten wartime penny into pure E. Next up, another 1943 D steel wheat penny. But this one's a little different. Look closely. Unlike the last few coins we've seen, this piece has survived the decades and better than most. The detail is still there. Lincoln's profile is sharp, the rim is mostly intact, and even the date and mint mark are still clearly visible. For a coin that's over 80 years old, this is what collectors call fine condition, and that's where things start getting very interesting, because while the average circulated 1943 D steel penny is common and usually worth just a few bucks, when you find one in this type of condition, at your better, the value can skyrocket. especially if it hides something special. Let's break it down. As we've mentioned before, over 217 million of these were struck at the Denver Mint in 1943. That was the height of World War II, and copper was desperately needed for shell casings and other war materials. So steel became the substitute, coated with zinc to prevent rust, but over time that zinc wore off, and the coins corroded quickly. That's why finding a clean, fine-grade 1943D is already a step ahead. But now, let's talk about the shock factor. First, if this particular coin, or any 1943D, turns out to be one of the extremely rare bronze planchet errors, the story flips. Instantly, only one known specimen has been officially verified from Denver, and that coin sold for $1.75 million. Not a typo, $1.75 million. And the scariest part? That coin wasn't mint state. It was found in circulation, just like the one you're looking at now. If your 1943D doesn't stick to a magnet, you might want to sit down before you test it, because your heart could skip a beat. Now let's go deeper into the fine details, because even steel versions in this kind of condition have high dollar potential, especially with the right errors. There's the RPM, repunched mint mark, one of the most sought-after varieties in this year. Some 1943D cents show a bold D punched more than once into the die, creating a ghost-like double image under magnification. Even circulated RPMs bring 1,000 to about 5,000. But if it's found on a fine or extra fine coin like this, that value easily jumps to 20,000 and up. And then we have die breaks, sometimes called cuds. These dramatic chunks of raised metal on the coin surface come from cracked dies, and collectors love these major visual errors. One 1943D steel cent with a huge die break across Lincoln's shoulder recently sold for over $18,000, and it wasn't even uncirculated. You'll also find rare off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't aligned correctly during minting. Some are subtle, others are wild, with Lincoln's face sliding off the rim like it's melting. Those kinds of 1943D steel cents, easily 10,000 to 20,000, depending on how dramatic the strike is. But here's the big twist. Even without any error, a 1943D steel penny in near mint condition, say MS65 or better, can sell for 2,500 to 10,000 or more just because of its rarity in that state. And coins with full white luster where the original zinc shine still gleams like the day it was made, those are the unicorns every collector is chasing. So here we are, a coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye, a coin you might overlook, but in fine condition with the right traits, it's a sleeping giant. This is what makes coin hunting such a wild ride. It's not just about shiny pennies, it's about the hidden legends hiding in plain sight. The forgotten cents in old jars that just might carry a story worth hundreds of thousands. And next, we go even deeper into one of the weirdest, rarest twists in all of U.S. coin history, a 1943 penny, not in steel, not in bronze, but struck on a foreign coin, planchet by accident. The chances? 1 in millions. The value? Unbelievable. So don't miss what's coming. Tap that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're just getting started and the biggest shockers are still ahead. Next up, 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And let's be honest, at first glance, this one looks completely done for. The surface is deeply pitted. It's, extremely worn out. And there's heavy environmental damage from decades of exposure. It's the kind of coin most folks would pass over without a second thought. But believe it or not, this tired old penny could still hold a secret that turns a coin worth 1 cent into a six-figure treasure. Let's rewind to 1958. This was the final year the U.S. Mint produced the classic wheat reverse design, which had been in use since 1909. After that, it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. Because of this, 1958 holds a bit of a farewell moment in wheat penny history, and certain coins from this year have become infamous for one reason: the 1958 double die obverse. Now here's where the story takes a wild turn. Only 3 confirmed examples of the 1958 double die obverse have ever surfaced. That's right, only 3. And each time one hits the market, it sends shockwaves through the coin collecting world. In one of the most astonishing coin auctions in history, a verified 1958 doubled die penny sold for a jaw-dropping $306,000. So how do you know if you have one? Even a heavily damaged coin like this might still carry the clues. if you know where to look. On the rare error version, the guy's word Liberty, the motto In God We Trust, and the date 1958 are all boldly doubled. We're not talking slight ghosting here. This is strong, visible, side-by-side doubling you can spot without a microscope. Now granted, this particular coin is extremely worn, and much of that detail might be long gone. But if even a hint of that doubling is still visible, even under magnification, this seemingly worthless coin might be worth sending in for authentication, because if it checks out, you could be holding one of the rarest coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. Even without the famous double die, the 1958 wheat penny in error condition has other hidden traps collectors are dying to find. There are examples of oink struck through errors, where grease or debris blocked parts of the die, causing portions of Lincoln's bust or the reverse wheat stalks to be missing or faint. In decent condition, those can sell for $500 to $2,000, even more when dramatic. Then there are die cracks and cuds, often forming on older dies near the end of their life cycle. These look like raised blobs or cracks across the surface, and even in damaged coins like this one, they can command $100 to $1,500. Depending on rarity and visibility. And here's something few collectors know. There are off-metal strikes known to exist in the 1958 wheat cent series. That means a coin meant to be a 1-cent piece was struck on the wrong metal planche like a dime or foreign coin. These bizarre 1 in a million errors have auctioned for over 25,000 pesos, even in low grades. So again, don't let this coin's beat-up look fool you. Sometimes the ugliest coins hide the most shocking value. This 1958 wheat penny may be missing its shine, but if it carries one of these ultra-rare errors, it could outshine every coin in your collection. This is the magic of coin hunting. It's like treasure buried in plain sight, hiding behind rust, pits, and time. And for those who take the time to look closer, the payoff can be life-changing. Coming up next, and we take a look at a steel wheat penny dated 1944, a coin that literally wasn't supposed to exist. Only a few are known, and one sold for nearly $500,000. So stick around and make sure you've tapped that subscribe button, because every coin we show from here on out is rarer, stranger, and far more valuable than you ever imagined. Next up, we're rolling back to a time just before America entered World War II. And this one, it's in seriously rough shape. Worn smooth, the details are barely clinging to the surface, and it's seen more than its share of decades stuffed in jars, passed through pockets, and left behind in garages and basements. But make no mistake, this coin could be a silent sleeper, because in the world of wheat pennies, 1942 is hiding a few massive surprises. Here's the wild part. While millions of these were made, over 650 million and across all U.S. mints, it's not the quantity that matters, it's the anomalies, the errors, and the unthinkable mix-ups that make certain 1942 pennies worth a small fortune. Let's dig in. First, if you're holding a 1942 wheat penny in bronze, it's likely common, unless, and this is a big unless, it was struck on the wrong planche. That's right, during this period, the U.S. Mint began experimenting with different metals in preparation for wartime shortages. A few coins were accidentally struck on planches intended for foreign currency, like those made of white metal, zinc, or even silver-colored alloys. If your 1942 penny looks even slightly off in color, it's worth immediate testing. One such coin, a 1942 wheat penny struck on a silver dime planche, fetched over $30,000 at auction despite being in just fine condition. Now here's where things get even more shocking. Some 1942 pennies, particularly those from the Philadelphia Mint, have been discovered with a dramatic off-center strikes. And not just a little off, we're talking 30% to 70% off-center, with Lincoln's head sliding way off the rim. These bizarre minting errors can be worth $10,000 to $25,000, even in worn-out condition as long as the date is still readable. And remember, our coin may be beat up, but the date is just clear enough to verify. There's also a double die reversed variety in 1942. It's subtle and often hard to see on worn coins, but it affects the words 1 cent and United States of America, causing a shadow-like doubling that's visible under magnification. Collectors go absolutely crazy for these, especially because they're so rarely spotted in circulation. A verified double die reverse in average condition has brought in over 15,000 checks, and in mint state, close to 80,000. And let's not forget the repunched mint marks, or RPMs. In 1942, coins from both the Denver and San Francisco mints were still being hand-punched, meaning errors were far more likely. Some of these D over D or S over S varieties are dramatic with clear double images. Even in rough shape like the one we're looking at now, RPM varieties can sell for $1,500 to $3,000, and pristine versions up to $25,000. But here's where it gets emotional. This 1942 wheat penny may look like it's been forgotten, tossed aside, and used up. But think about the journey it's been on. It was struck during a tense time in American history, right on the edge of war. It may have passed through the hands of soldiers, wartime workers, or families, saving every cent for ration stamps and hope. The wear and tear on this coin, that's history etched into metal. And now, over 80 years later, it could still give you something unforgettable. Maybe a story, maybe a legacy, maybe a massive payday. Coming up next, we fast forward 1 year to 1943, but not the steel pennies you've seen before. What we're about to reveal is a 1 in a billion error coin that's become a legend in American numismatics as a bronze penny from a year that should have had none. Fewer than 20 are known, and one of them sold for over $1 million. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button now, because what's coming next is one of the most controversial, mysterious, and valuable U.S. coins of all time. And now to close out this jaw-dropping lineup, we're going all the way back over a century to the 1917 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin is a true survivor, and despite its heavily pitted surface and deep red shades from oxidation, it still carries a kind of rugged beauty. But don't let its battered look fool you. This humble penny might be the sleeper hit of the entire list. Let's start with the history, because 1917 was no ordinary year. America had just entered a world war once, and everything was changing fast. Supplies were tight, minting equipment was aging, and quality control, it wasn't exactly top of the list. That's why this year, and especially coins from the such Denver mints like this one, are known to have some of the most dramatic die issues in early Lincoln cent production, and this coin, it just might be one of them. You see, in 1917, something wild happened at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Strong double die obverse coins were struck, meaning parts of the design like the words "In God We Trust" with Liberty, and even the date 1917, were accidentally stamped twice, slightly off from each other. And let me tell you, that variety, when spotted, sets the collector world on fire. If this worn-down, red-toned, pitted penny shows even a hint of that doubling, you could be staring at one of the most valuable early Lincoln cents ever made. Get this, a confirmed 1917 double die obverse sold at auction for a stunning $120,000. And that was in circulated conditions and not even mint state. Just imagine if this very coin hides that doubling underneath all that wear. Even with pitting and oxidation, collectors would jump at the chance to own a genuine piece of that era history, and that's just one potential payday. Let's talk repunched mint marks, or RPMs. In 1917, mint workers still hand-punched the mint marks into the dies. Mistakes were inevitable, especially at the Denver Mint. A clear D over D, where the D was punched in the wrong place, then corrected, can bring $3,000 to $7,500 in average condition. Even rough coins like this one can still command serious offers if the RPM is visible. Now let's move to strike errors. And this is where it gets exciting. Off-center strikes, die cracks, lamination errors, all of these were more common in the early 1900s than many realize. A 1917 D off-center penny, where the date is still visible, that alone can fetch $8,000 to $12,000 and higher if it's paired with a full rim and other striking features. Combine that with environmental toning like this deep reddish patina, that uniqueness just drives the value up. But the biggest twist of all, some 1917 D pennies have been found struck on improper planchets. Like thin stock foreign coin blanks or even missized bronze alloy rounds, these errors are rare but incredibly valuable. One such error penny, struck on a thinner than normal planchet, sold for over $42,000, even though it was scratched and discolored. And while our coin might look rough to the untrained eye, To a serious numismatist, this 1917D could be an untapped treasure full of possibilities. Sometimes it's the most worn, overlooked pennies that end up rewriting someone's financial future. This is why collectors never ignore a coin, no matter how damaged, no matter how pitted, no matter how discolored, because buried in those scratches and scars could be a 1 in a million error, or a legendary variety that changes everything. So as we close out this unforgettable countdown, remember, the real value isn't always in what you see, it's in what you notice. And sometimes what looks like the lowest coin in the pile turns out to be the most valuable of all. If you've enjoyed this treasure hunt through some of the most worn out but potentially priceless pennies in existence, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share with someone who still has a change jar tucked away in their kitchen drawer. Who knows? The next fortune might be hiding inside their pocket change. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your eyes sharp, your coins close, and your curiosity wide open.